In this tutorial, we're going back to our island in 3D Studio Max to edit the landscape. Now, one way you could do this is by going back to the height map itself and editing the height map and recreating the height map, and then going through the steps of making your island over again. And if you have a lot of changes that need to be made, that might be the best method. Now, if you just want to do a slight change to the entire island, another method is to use the smooth modifier. Let's change the perspective view a little bit so that we can see the island and where we want to change it. I'm going to go down here to select this tool, and that'll help me change my angle of how I'm looking at it. Then I'm going to choose the zoom tool and zoom in. So now you can see the island from the top a little bit better, and you can see that this hump in the middle is what's a little bit too big, and we can't run up the sides of this hump in some of the spots because it's too steep. So another way, if you're not going to change the height map, to change that is to go to the select by name, choose the plane island, and click select. Now under the modifier tab, you'll see plane island, and you see editable poly under there. Now if you click on the modifier list, you'll see a huge drop down menu. You can go down and there's smooth right there. And under smooth, now we have another thing under our modifier list that we're modifying our plane with. And for smooth, we can click on auto smooth, and we can give it any threshold we want. So this is another method you could play around with to try to smooth out your island. But I'm not going to use that method for this. I'm going to go back and take off the smooth modifier. So I'm right clicking out and pressing delete. So now we're back to normal. And I'm going to talk about another method that you can change your landscape with. So going back to the height map or using the smooth is kind of a way to change the entire map all at once. If you want to focus in one little tiny area, then you could go to the plane island under the modifier tab and click on the editable poly. And then as long as you have the select by vertex selected, you'll see all these little blue dots show up, and those are all your vertices for your island. So now we can say, okay, well, let's zoom in a little bit to this really steep part we have right here. Move it. So we're looking at that steep part right here. We're going to say, well, I want to mess around with that and change it just slightly. So we could select just a few of the vertices that we're concerned about and use the translate tool, and then we can pull those vertices up, and you can see that if I pull them way up, way down, but you're just trying to get less of a steepness there, and you can kind of go around to different parts of the vertices, selecting different things and pulling them up, and then you have a lot of control over exactly what's happening with your island. So anyway, you can spend a lot of time working on it that way, but if you have a lot of changes to make, it makes more sense just to go back to the original height map and work on it from there. Those are 3 methods of editing your poly after you've created your island.